Hello everyone, welcome back to the Jikook Diaries channel. Wait a second, pause the video now. Pay close attention. Why doesn't Jungkook immediately pull away? Why doesn't Jimin look surprised at all? And why does this brief moment feel so much more intimate than the thousands of other physical encounters we've seen? No screaming, no laughter, no over-the-top fan service. Just one position, one silence, and two people who look too comfortable to be mere coincidence. Wait, why is Jungkook on top of Jimin like that? The question explodes in the minds of anyone watching this moment, even before the mind can even come up with a logical explanation. The camera captures it for only a few seconds, but the effect feels much longer. Too close, too quiet, too real to be mere coincidence. First, everything seems normal. They're in the same room, the atmosphere is relaxed, without excessive spotlights. There's no dramatic music, no editing trying to drive the audience's emotions. That's precisely what makes this moment feel different. When Jungkook moved and ended up positioned directly above Jimin, time seemed to slow down. Not because of what they were doing physically, but because of the body language that was exchanged between them. The way Jungkook held his body, the way Jimin didn't move away. There was no panic, no awkward laughter, just a calm acceptance as if the position was natural for them. Many people might ask, wasn't that just an accidental position? But if you've been following Jungkook for any length of time, you know the answer isn't that simple. Jungkook is very camera conscious. His movements are usually controlled, especially in public situations. Jimin is also known for being very sensitive to personal distance. So when two people like this are that close without overreacting, without rushing to adjust their positions, that's precisely where the signs begin. Their gazes spoke louder than words. Jungkook didn't seem in a rush to get up. Jimin didn't look away. There was no attempt to cover up the moment. And most strikingly, there was no discomfort. It wasn't an awkward silence, but a familiar one. A silence that can only happen when two people are so used to each other's presence. Observant fans immediately noticed small details that are often overlooked. The way Jungkook's shoulders slumped slightly, as if adjusting so as not to burden Jimin. The way Jimin breathed at a steady rhythm, not tense, not disturbed. Even their facial expressions showed no surprise. This wasn't the reaction of people trapped in a strange situation. This was the reaction of people in a safe space. And here's where the question arises again, louder than before. If this was just a joke, why did it feel so natural? If this was just a random moment, why wasn't there an effort to end it immediately? The cameras were there. The staff were all around. But none of it seemed to bother them. It was as if, for a moment, the outside world didn't really matter. Jikook has always been known for his subtle dynamic. They're not a couple who displays intimacy openly. On the contrary, their strength lies in the little things. The way they share space, the way they find each other in a crowd, the way each other's presence is soothing. This moment of Jungkook on top of Jimin felt like a continuation of a long-standing pattern, not something that came out of nowhere. There's also the trust factor that's hard to ignore. Allowing someone to be that close, especially in such a vulnerable position, requires a great deal of trust. It's not just physical but emotional. Jungkook knew Jimin wouldn't panic and reject him. Jimin knew Jungkook wouldn't cross any boundaries that would make him uncomfortable. This tacit understanding is what made the moment so powerful. A few seconds later, of course, things returned to normal. They moved around, chuckled, and continued their activities as if nothing had happened. But that's precisely the magic. They didn't try to erase the moment. They didn't seem to be trying to correct perceptions. They simply went on with their lives, as if what had just happened was a natural part of their time together. For many viewers, this moment became the subject of much discussion. Not because it was sensational, but because it was honest. Not staged, not forced. In the scripted world of entertainment, this kind of honesty feels rare. And Jikook, once again, successfully demonstrates that closeness doesn't always have to be announced with big words or dramatic gestures. Sometimes just a position, just silence, just trust. We may never get a definitive answer to this question, the question of why behind that moment. And perhaps it's unnecessary, because what makes it memorable isn't the explanation, but the feeling. The warm feeling that arises when you see two people completely comfortable with each other, without masks, without distance.
지금 이제 1시간 40분 남았거든요.
And so, when someone asks, wait, why is Jungkook on top of Jimin like that? The most honest answer might be this, because for them, that closeness isn't something to be questioned. It's just home. And perhaps, this is why moments like these always linger longest in our memories. Not because of the sensation, but because of their honesty. No script, no explanation, just two people sharing space in a way that feels real. What makes this moment linger even longer is how it contrasts with everything we've been conditioned to expect. In most public settings, idols instinctively create distance. Even accidental contact is usually followed by an immediate reaction, a laugh, a jump, a quick apology, or a visible adjustment to reestablish boundaries. But here, none of that happened. The absence of reaction is exactly what made the moment so loud. Jungkook didn't tense up. Jimin didn't flinch. Their bodies seemed to communicate before their minds even had the chance to intervene. And that kind of instinctive calm doesn't come from rehearsals or camera awareness. It comes from familiarity built over years. From knowing someone so well that closeness doesn't trigger alarms, it feels expected. Some fans pointed out how Jimin's expression stayed soft, almost thoughtful, rather than playful or teasing. Jungkook's posture, too, wasn't careless. He wasn't sprawled or heavy. It was controlled, considerate, as if he was instinctively protecting Jimin's space even while being right there within it. That contradiction speaks alone volumes. It wasn't dominance. It wasn't clumsiness. It was comfort layered with awareness. And perhaps that's the detail that resonates the most. This wasn't a moment performed for the audience. It was a moment that happened despite the audience. The camera didn't invite it, it simply caught it. And when moments like that slip through, they feel raw, almost unfiltered, like a glimpse into something usually kept private. Over the years, Jikook has given fans countless memories, but the ones that endure aren't always the loudest. They're the quiet ones, the pauses, the shared glances, the unspoken understanding that doesn't need explanation. This moment fits perfectly into that pattern. It didn't demand attention, it earned it. Maybe that's why people are still talking about it. Not because it shocked, but because it felt honest. Because it reminds everyone that sometimes, the strongest connections aren't proven through words or grand gestures, but through how naturally two people exist in the same space. And in the end, maybe that's all this moment was. Not a statement, not a confirmation, just a glimpse of something genuine, something familiar, something that didn't need to be rushed, hidden, or corrected. Because when comfort reaches that level, closeness stops being a question and simply becomes part of who they are together. If you think it's just a coincidence, leave it in the comments. But if you also feel something more than just a moment, feel free to share your thoughts. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed this analysis, subscribe to Jikook's other stories full of small but meaningful details, and activate the bell so you don't miss the next moments. See you in the next video. Because with Jikook, there's always something silently speaking, even when they don't say a word.